Good morning, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen. That is the intro, and I will not be changing it despite how much it's going to wind my lovely co-host Amelia, who's just done her pretty little nails. So she's just going to be sat there with her hands out. I will do a full introduction for everyone who is currently present in just a second. Anyway, my name is Purple Midnight 8, aka you all know my name by now.
Husband.
Yes, my name is Husband. Anyway, I'm Purple Midnight, joined as ever by Amelia, my lovely wife.
Who's being sweet, guys?
For now, I'll probably end up bullying you by the end of this video. It's not too late. As always, we are still a little bit ill anyway. Not as bad as the TED 2 review. She also wants me to add that Stasi is here as well. He is asleep. Smitten has also been walking in and out of the room a little bit.
Yeah, but they did watch a little bit of Predator, though.
Yeah. Oh, you spoiled what film we're doing. You ruined the surprise.
The title and the
I'm taking the piss.
Hey.
Yeah, if you couldn't guess by...
Fuck.
Oh,
Sorry.
Amelia's just done her nails and she's just got it caught on something. And we've just changed the bedding today as well, so...
I never edit my videos, so when I'm doing ASMR, you just hear me go, fuck.
Yeah, she can't edit, and I can't be asked, so...
Not unless if I pay you.
Not unless if you pay me. I can't deal with ASMR, I don't get the allure. Anyway, back on track. Welcome back to our little reviews. It's my turn this week. As always, I took about an hour to actually choose what I want to watch.
Yeah.
Despite having so many films that I wanted to, it's just a matter of picking which one at the time. Ultimately landed with Predator, on which you can catch on Disney Plus, by the way, because Disney owns Fox alongside basically every other company in existence. What do you mean pause it? I can't pause recording. You Sneeze then. If she sneezes, you will hear it. You will hear it in real life if she sneezes. How loud it is. So yeah, of course, we are looking at the original Predator from 1987. This is Amelia's second experience with Predator because the two of us have seen Prey. We watched that not long, I think pretty much when it came out. The prequel that came out last year.
Yeah, because we watched it.
Yeah, we watched it elsewhere. Like, not in the room we record in, I guess. I don't know why you needed to add that in as a, like, extra point to be made. But anyway, so yeah, we watched Prey when that came out that last year. We will cover that when we get to it. That was your first experience, and we surprisingly liked that one. It's the first decent sequel since the second one that we will cover in due time. However, we are doing where it all began, doing a film that Amelia always calls old. If it begins with 19, that counts as old. She's still coughing. We're going to have another of these episodes. That's what you get when you give an illness to an asthmatic. Anyway, we'll get right into it now. We'll give our thoughts and stuff along the way, as we always do. This film is directed by John McTiernan, I believe his name is. I feel bad because I feel like I've put the wrong name. No, his name is John McTiernan. He is known for films such as Die Hard and a couple of its sequels. Another Arnold Schwarzenegger film called Last Action Hero. Well, I do know that one. I don't know why I was going to say that. I was about to be like, if you've ever heard of it, I do. She's blowing her nose again. At least this episode didn't begin with that. Because last time it did. Anyway, he's also the director of Die Hard and Last Action Hero. Now I've got to go back about 8 pages. Forgive me. Is Predator kid friendly? That said, yeah, maybe not. Judging by some of the kills in this film. It's also written by two brothers named Jim and John Thomas. And as mentioned, it's available on Disney Plus. Because the House of Mouse owns everything. So getting into the film, we begin it in space. Because of course. However, a ship flies past Earth, deploying something that enters the atmosphere. Of course, this is the Predator. Amelia is currently leaving the room to get rid of her snot rag.
Like that.
Because you were blowing your nose, and if you well, it's not like you provide any decent points anyway. You mentally contribute by sitting there and sulking. Oh, headset's making funny noises. Elsewhere, a helicopter arrives in a military base in a tropical location. I don't believe it's specified, but it's somewhere in the south of America. Later himself, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who I was surprised to find that I spelt his name correctly the first time I typed it into the computer. The group disembark the helicopters and go to meet the general. The general briefs them on a rescue mission, and a voice calls out to him. This is Dylan, played by Carl Weathers. Apollo Creed from Rocky as well. Or most recently, he is in The Mandalorian as, I think his name is Grief Karga, if I remember. He's a big actor. This whole film is full of like action movie legends, which helps the allure of keeping up the facade of this being your everyday action film before it gets into people being brutally murdered. Oh yeah, so Dylan is an old friend of Dutch, but has turned from being a soldier into a CIA operative. The general tells them that Dutch's rescue team needs to rescue some important people who are being possibly held by gorillas or gorillas, not gorillas as in as the apes, but gorillas as in Guerillas. On the Huey ride over to the jungle to Long Tall Sally, which I want to quickly put in there for a scene later on, by Little Richard, of course. We meet the rest of the team. I'll just list them off now because it's easiest. This includes Blaine, who is played by former professional wrestler Jesse the Body Ventura. Ironic how he was called the Body, and what happens to him later in the film. Mac, who is played by Bill Duke. I've seen him elsewhere quite recently, but I can't remember where. Let me find him. He was in a movie or a TV show that kept getting promoted to me. He was in Commando, another Arnold film. Mandy. Oh, it might have been Mandy, that trippy fucking Nicolas Cage film. That is a. If we ever do that, you are going to be thinking you're tripping on LSD. That is a good Nicolas Cage film, except he's fucking ride and a half. That's probably where I recognise him from recently, but Commando in this is basically what he's known for. We meet Poncho as well, who is played by Richard Chavez. If I can find him, there he is. Other than this, he is known for the War of the Worlds TV series from 1988. Pretty much just this, to say the least. I was going to say, I don't recognise him from anything else except this, but there you go, that's probably why. Hawkins, played by Shane Black, who is mostly known for the movies he actually makes, because he's more of a filmmaker. However, of course, he is in this. And he later went on, as I mentioned to you, to do The Predator, the sequel before Prey. He also did Iron Man 3. He wrote and directed that. The Nice Guys, and of course The Predator. The Nice Guys is Ryan. Is that Ryan Gosling? Yeah, Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe. That looks terrible. Anyway, moving on. And Billy, the last member of the team, I forgot to mention, he was played by Sonny Landham. He's pretty much known just for this. The soldiers all share some jokes and prepare for their operation. The team disembark their chopper and make their way into the jungle, coming across the wreckage of a chopper in a tree. Poncho makes his way up, followed by Dylan, where they find a pilot who was shot. It's important to mention he was shot. He was not killed by the Predator. Which we'll get into later on, obviously, because a lot of people do get killed by the Predator. Poncho shares his findings with Dutch and how it is more like a surveillance helicopter as opposed to something that they would use to transport officials around. Billy, while stopping for a drink from a vine, moves on, finding 3 bodies tied upside down in a tree, completely skinned. Yummy, 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 gobble, 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 yummy old skin. It was disgusting. And as I mentioned, this was before CGI was a main sort of staple.
Mm.
So they would have had to make like mannequins and cover them in pieces, we'll call it. Da, 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 da. Mac finds the dog tags of one, which Dutch recognises the name of, which causes him to confront Dylan in private about them being soldiers that weren't supposed to be there. And of course, Dylan, being a totally not sketchy CIA three-letter agency gentleman, denies all knowledge. As the team head out, something watches them through thermal vision. The team eventually reaches their objective, which is a village hidden deep in the jungle. Populated by, of course, the gorillas that were mentioned earlier. Dutch watches through his binoculars as a man shoots an American through the head. The team approaches the camp silently, disarming traps and killing several of the gorillas on guard. Dutch, however, rigs up an explosive to a truck and wheels it down the hill into the camp, where it promptly explodes. Excuse me. The team assault the compound, slaughtering the gorillas with explosives and bullets. Lots of people being shot, lots of people flying around for various reasons. A lot of just lots of stunt performers being paid lots of money to jump. Good on them, though. I mean, as mentioned, this is pretty typical of these old, like, 80s, 90s action movies where it's just lots of explosions and bullets and big, strong, muscly men with lots of guns going, which is perfect because it sets up the plot of it really not being that, which I really dig. I've lost where I was. Dutch is snuck up on by a woman who we later find out is named Anna. She is played by Elpidia Carrillo. I apologise if that is not how you pronounce your name, but I also do not care. Is that a bit real? I say that every time I probably mispronounce people's names. She is known for this film and a bunch of other stuff, including the recently released Blue Beetle, which is probably where people might recognise her from. We haven't seen it, so I don't know. I've heard it's alright. It's a DC film that's not rated terribly. Who he promptly knocks out as Mac arrives to tell him the other hostage is dead and that they were in reality CIA. Uh-oh. The three-letter agencies have been keeping secrets. Who would have guessed? God. Dylan heads into a building searching for some documents he was after, which in reality Dutch has, who confronts him for setting them up. Dylan refers to Dutch and his team as expendable assets and defends his actions. Dylan brings Anna with the team to their evacuation as she is valuable and may have information. The team plan their escape route as the mysterious figure watches from afar. Hawkins catches up with Billy and tells him a joke, making him laugh, which the figure hears, and as we hear right at the end of the film,
Sorry.
the Predator is able to replicate people's voices, which is creepy. It does get a lot creepier in the sequels. Like in the second one, there's literally a kid that goes, "Want some candy?" And obviously it's like, oh, he's clearly going to fucking mimic that then, isn't he? We'll cover that when we get to that film. And honestly, with new series that we're covering, like, we're not going to cover them straight away. It could be anywhere between a couple of weeks and fucking months. It took us ages to finish Scary Movie. We haven't covered any more of Scream. There's probably some more stuff. Jurassic Park will get there once I've read the second book. But if we start a series, there's no guarantee we're going to finish it anytime soon. But we'll get there. And that's what's important. Perhaps the films were the journey reviews we made along the way. Anyway. I forgot where I was. I went on a bit of a tangent. Billy stops momentarily, seeming to notice something before leaving with the others. The figure goes through the camp, looking over the carnage and replaying the voices of Billy that he heard to himself. The team presses onwards until Billy once more notices that something is wrong, which spooks the others. Billy's fucking psychic. He just somehow knows that something's following him. It's never really explained or elaborated on. He just knows. Dutch approaches Billy, who tells him that something is in the trees, and while the others make their way down, Anna uses the opportunity to make a run for it, where she is pursued by Hawkins. Hawkins is able to catch up to Anna and subdue her before Hawkins is suddenly grabbed and killed by something invisible. The rest of the team arrive too late and find a shaken and bloody Anna on the ground, and Hawkins' body completely missing. Well, not completely missing. Poncho follows a blood trail where he finds what's left of Hawkins. It's not really... Well, they say they think they found him, but it's just like assorted meat on the ground. Possibly his insides. He wasn't skinned, though, because they do pass his body struck up in a tree and it hasn't been skinned. So, I don't know what that was. So yeah, they find his presumed insides on the ground, which he reports to Dutch. They ask Poncho to find out what happened from Anna, who tells him that the jungle came alive and took Hawkins. I've got Anna in the not script. Well, it is a script technically. Dutch was confused as to why the attacker didn't take Hawkins' gear, and he orders his team to find his body. The team all split up, and as mentioned, fail to notice Hawkins' corpse stuck up a tree. But Blaine, however, is spooked by an animal before he is suddenly shot twice with a blue laser, which kills him. Yeah, that's horrible. Mac finds his body and opens fire on the invisible predator, managing to get him to bleed before the others arrive to fire on the trees. The group gathers around Blaine and sees the giant hole where his chest used to be. Absolutely grisly, just completely just... it's just like a crater where his chest used to be. Like, this, he's a big guy. That was a big hole. Lost where I was again. Anna finds the predator's green blood on a leaf before she is pulled away by Dylan. The group rest for a while, and Max sets up track around the area, where Dutch takes a moment to give his condolences to a grief-stricken Mac. Mac in this is absolutely fucking deranged. I don't know what it is with films and making characters batshit. Like we had in Bull with Neil Maskell once again playing a fucking character who's just mental. But I don't know what it is with people just doing weird shit. The Predator elsewhere, however, don't know why I added however, that's not necessary, disables his cloaking gear and uses a small device to heal his bleeding wounds. Now, this does change a lot throughout the series, how they can heal themselves. Because in this one he pulls this little like gun out that has a spray in it. But in the second one he has these little canisters that he twists that have crystals in them. That he stabs himself with and that heals him. Also, like in the video game that we've covered on the channel for Aliens vs Predator, by the way. Gotta plug it where I can. That was one of the first ones that I ever did of the channel. It's like the second one, I think. It's not even on the schedule. We do have a schedule and you will never find out what it is if you watch the playthroughs. It changes all the time anyway, so it don't make a difference. Anyway, so yeah, you can go watch the Alien vs Predator video game playthrough if you like. That'd be great. Anyway. So yeah, we were gonna make a joke where the worst kill was gonna be the jungle for the amount of bullets and grenades they fire at it without killing anything but trees.
It just didn't make sense. They just wasted
They wasted so much fucking bullets. And Mac, because he's losing his mind, runs out of bullets and is still spinning his minigun. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. Fucking Blaine has been walking around carrying a minigun that's typically mounted to the side of a helicopter. Because he is a fucking bodybuilder, so he can. So yeah, the Predator heals himself, crying out in pain, which alerts Anna and Billy. But somehow not the others. Dylan does his best to contact his extraction team, who denies their request due to it being a hot zone. Obviously because of all the gorillas around them. They ask Mac what he saw, and he does his best to describe to them. However, Dylan... Oh, I keep adding however. However can go on a fucking sticker or something. Dylan refuses to believe what they saw isn't just a regular enemy, which Dutch mocks him for. And Mac that night speaks to Blaine while he's on watch, promising to kill the Predator. Obviously, Blaine is dead. He's not even speaking to his corpse. He's just speaking to himself. The team are alerted when a wild pig springs one of their traps, which Mac proceeds to stab to death in his delusions of it being the Predator. After the panic settles, they realise Anna is missing, but find her alongside Blaine's body, which is missing from its bag. Well, they don't find Blaine's body, they find the bag that it used to be in. Dutch finally confronts Anna, who reveals that she does know how to speak English. And I don't know why I put and reveals. I've been ill, guys. Please bear with me. Dutch appreciates her honesty on what she saw and cuts her free of her binds. The gang realises if it bleeds, they can kill it. Of course, one of the many one-liners. And set larger and stronger traps to kill the predator. When nothing comes, however, Dutch uses himself as bait in order to lure out the predator. When a net suddenly springs, catching him and causing him to blindly fire his laser, which triggers another trap which critically injures Poncho. Doesn't kill him though, importantly. I just want to say, because I didn't really credit him anywhere, the Predator is played by the late Kevin Peter Hall. I think that's his name. Yes. He was 7'2". He was going to be played by Jean-Claude Van Damme, an actor you've never heard of. He said he's in a lot of crappy films. Until he realised his face wasn't going to be shown, so they decided not to. He decided to back out. Allegedly. I don't know if that's true, I've heard it somewhere. The Predator flees with Mac chasing after it, and also Dylan volunteering to follow him in order to redeem himself after seeking the Predator for himself. Dutch and the others grab hold of Poncho and carry him onwards in order to get him to safety. Mac, having gone fully crazy, sings Long Tall Sally to himself as he strips off his heavier gear. Dylan finds it and seems to hear Mac calling out to him. Of course, this is to try and be like the Predator's mimicking him, but of course, in reality, he does actually find Mac alive and well, and while hiding, they can see the Predator in a tree above them. Dylan and Mac plan to kill the Predator with Dylan flanking it and Mac approaching through the brush. While crawling, Mac sees 3 red dots mysteriously appear on his arm. And when he looks up, his head is suddenly, I want to say blown off, but anyway. His face is suddenly just erupts in blood when a plasma bolt hits it. I'll explain why it's unsure what actually happened to his face in a second. Dylan continues to make his way towards the Predator, unaware of Mac's fate, until he sees his somehow intact corpse. So, yeah, his face, like the dummy that they used to explode in the shot where his head just... His face is somehow intact, despite that shot showing it just absolutely just... Like his entire face is there, there's no hole in it. It's a bit strange. I don't understand how it happened. As I mentioned, it doesn't make sense.
Like you said, back then they didn't have like CGI and it was budget and everything. So.
Yeah, but they managed to put a giant hole in Blaine's corpse, but they couldn't add a bit of continuity of just making a mannequin and cutting its face off, or if you just splashed a load of red paint over his face and just call it a day. Anyway, it does get a bit more. The continuity does get a bit better when it comes to people's gore later on. However, before he can react, the Predator ambushes him, blowing his arm off before impaling him on his wrist blades while his gun continues firing. So yeah, his arm comes off, and because he was pulling the trigger, it's still shooting as it lays on the ground. So yeah, that kills Dylan, by the way. He's not going to come back. The others hear Dylan's death scream. However, Billy stops while they're crossing over a valley over a tree. Billy stops, strips down, and discards his gun, deciding to stay behind and fight in hand-to-hand combat. However, as the others continue onwards, they hear him cry out as he is killed off-screen. Poncho was suddenly shot in the head out of nowhere and killed, leaving Dutch and Anna as the last survivors. The Predator manages to shoot and wound Dutch, causing him to yell to Anna the iconic line of getting to the chopper. Get to the chopper. I'm not even going to try and imitate it because it'll be embarrassing. So yeah, he tells Anna to go without him. Dutch runs through the jungle. I know, big joke. We can all laugh because that's a song as well. Anyway, you can get it. as the predator follows before he slides off a cliff into the river below. He eventually makes it to shore where he crawls through mud as the creature lands in the river behind him. Dutch crawls away and watches as the water disables the predator's cloaking, allowing Dutch to see him properly, I think for the first time.
Hmm.
The predator searches for him, however, he can't due to the mud covering Dutch's heat signature. As Dutch sets traps, the predator tears out the skull of Billy, because, as I mentioned to you, the predator species, the Yautja, I think they're called, they don't kill people for the sake of it, they do it for sport. Unlike the xenomorphs, which just absolutely just kill, kill, kill. Actually, correct myself on that. Anyone they don't kill directly, they use facehuggers to breed them into xenomorphs. You're gonna have fun with that when we cover them. Facehuggers are fucked up. Oh, sorry, I was having a sippy sip. It takes a lot of effort to do these videos. Dutch hides and notices when the predator sneaks literally right past him. Dutch manages to swing on a rope, switching his hiding place in order to avoid being spotted, but barely succeeds in doing so. He uses a bow with an arrow that has a grenade tied to the end in order to shoot at the predator, disabling his cloaking device. The predator repeatedly fires in Dutch's general direction, but only manages to knock him out the tree. Dutch runs from him and outsmarts the predator multiple times before he eventually is found when his mud washes off. The predator, however, doesn't kill him, but strips himself of his gear and mask to fight him on fair ground. The two of them fight until Dutch crawls towards a trap, which the predator unfortunately notices. He goes around the trap, which in reality is what Dutch wanted, and triggers a different trap which crushes him, but doesn't kill him. Dutch grabs a rock in order to put him out of his misery and confronts him. However, he discards the rock and does a quip about him. Well, no, he doesn't call him an ugly motherfucker there. But he basically says, "What are you?" which the predator says back to him. The predator beep boops on his gauntlet, triggering the count. I'm going to restart that. That was a fucking mouthful. The predator beep boops on his gauntlet, which triggers the countdown of a bomb, which he does so as he mocks Dutch using Billy's laugh as he retreats. Dutch gets away as the bomb explodes, which of course kills the predator, as the evacuation chopper containing Anna, the general, and in the cameo Kevin Peter Hall outside of his costume circles. The helicopter lands in the crater where Dutch is waiting to pick him up, and the chopper flies away from the carnage, leaving the mess behind as the film ends. For a fucking script that was nearly 3 pages long, I don't think it lasted as long as it did, as I thought it would. So what are your thoughts, babe?
Well, I managed
It's not
to...
my cup of tea.
Oh, I don't need to speak.
Yeah, go on. Give your thoughts.
Well, I managed to watch it, and it wasn't that bad.
You actually did watch it.
But some things didn't make sense to me, like the shooting at nothing and no one being like, shall we stop shooting?
Yeah. It's a bit strange. And obviously the continuity of Mac's head somehow being intact despite all that blood coming out of it. As I say, it's not flawless.
And then even when he didn't have any mud on, I still was struggling to see him a bit though.
He didn't. You know how I picked him up and looked at him and then let him go? He then stripped off his gun and that so we could fight him one-on-one as opposed to... He could have just fucking gone.
The is just a piece of shit, basically.
He's a sport hunter who... Yeah, because he's a prig. Like, that is the whole, like, idea. They get worse later on. But, like... It's... How do I speak? How do you speak? How do we do that again?
What do you mean? I'm sorry, I'm so lost.
My train of thought has completely just ran off the rails. Anyway, whatever point I was going to make can't be important if I forgot it. If I remember, I'll try and edit it.
I mean, as I say, I don't, considering it was done in 1987, the gore was kind of really good and the effects and everything, so yeah. I can't really fault it considering that now.
Considering it's the 80s and how much fake shit they use. Like, you look at some stuff and it's like the blood rather than being red, it's like pinkish.
For example, you've got Ready or Not, which was kind of newish
2016, I think.
by a few years,
Maybe.
and you get the massive explosion at the end.
They did that practically, though.
That was
They
yeah,
used little like air cannons that shot blood at them. One of the actors literally said, "Can I get some in my mouth?" Because he wanted it. Anyway, that's for that film when we get there.
It's just when you look at the Predator explosion, you had multiple like explosions.
You could tell it was.
It weren't just one. It was like a massive shoot down, and then like the hut's gone, the helicopter's gone.
They annihilate that entire. Practically. Like, that was real, like, pyrotechnics used.
You've got one after the other. Some films, you just got one massive.
It's just like one explosion with multiple different, like, camera shots of it, because that's all the production could afford. But they just fucking razed that village to the ground.
In that respect, that was quite impressive.
And if you want to go about realism, they actually did kick a vulture in this film.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I'm impressed by that, but...
I think they killed the actual scorpion as well that Max stabbed off of Dylan.
Just don't say anything about the pig.
Yeah, the pig was obviously fake. I don't think that... I hope it was. That looked way too fake to be a real pig. Yeah, obviously, as I mentioned to you, the whole like first act being a big like fake out of it being your regular like action movie like Commando. Of it just like all the shooting, all the big explosions, the big muscly men with guns, like an unreal amount of bullets and grenades, and just everyone just stunt performers flying left and right. Are they dead? Who knows? But they're flying. And then to suddenly have it turn on its head with like basically being turned into a sci-fi version of something like Friday the 13th.
The other thing is, because like with older films, the quality can be really bad. And obviously, I know a lot of people would have had to stick up with it back then. But well, obviously,
they wouldn't have had anything to compare it with. They wouldn't have been able to be like, oh, compared to new films,
the quality really wasn't that bad. And
you found it easier to listen to than Jurassic Park, which came out 6 years later.
Quality for Jurassic World, it was just the audio of it.
Yeah. Whereas this, I mean, I don't know, I did turn the volume up quite a lot this time. Yeah. That might have helped.
Yeah, but you had the volume up on Jurassic World, and it just sounded really...
Park. Please call it Park.
Park, sorry.
I just want us to do World so you can shut up.
But sometimes, because I get him and I have to have subtitles. I probably would have found it easier with subtitles on, but then I would have you off, so...
I don't mind them sometimes.
But I don't know if that's just because everyone was a bit more clear speaking in this one.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't really not being...
There was less soundtrack as well, whereas obviously Jurassic Park had a lot of, like, major score and, like, all the composition was there. You had all the music in the backdrop of most scenes. But here it was a lot of literally just, like, them talking with, like, the natural sounds of the jungle behind them.
And the weird jungle music.
And the weird jungle music, which for whatever reason decided. Yeah. So yeah, well, now that we're through it, best kill goes to Blaine, we agreed on. Initially, we couldn't decide on Mac or Blaine. Mac probably would have got it if it wasn't for the fact that his head was somehow still intact afterwards.
Yeah, that didn't make sense. Especially because of how big that... Like, the amount of blood, like his head exploded.
The amount of blood that came out of his head, there should at least be a giant hole where his fucking face used to be. But the fact that he's just laying there and it's intact, it just doesn't make sense. If they had done the hole where his face used to be, easy. As I said to you, if they just chucked some blood on his face, I would have been happy with that, but it's just like he's lying there and you can clearly see it's his face. So it just that, and the fact that Blaine, you had his entire rib cage like sticking out from where he got blasted, it just made more sense. But it was so close. But the fact that there was actual gore with Blaine probably pushed it over. Maybe if we saw the dudes being skinned alive, they might have got best kill. However, because they
I think God would have drawn a lot.
That would have been a bit. It gets worse. You know how Billy had his skull ripped out? In Predators, a guy literally has it ripped out while he's still alive. Literally Yeah, he literally stabs him and rips
I
it.
don't mind horror, but I draw the line when it comes to the human centipede and Saw. Those
Human
ones
Centipede
can
is fucked.
no.
Saw isn't that bad.
If you
Hostel,
if you
Hostel is
generally
bad.
want
Hostel
to
is horrific.
do them, you'd be doing them on your own because there's some horror films I just fucking draw the line with because I just think that this isn't a
Just to
film.
let you
This
know, there's almost 10
no,
Saws.
no offense. I think the director or whoever wrote that is just fucked up in the head.
He also did Insidious, the director of that. And Insidious isn't even gory at all.
It just feels like a sick fantasy when some of these people do
You sit
these
through
films.
Hostel and you tell me that that's
I
not.
don't really want
You
to.
see Saw, fine. It's a Hostel,
Yeah, but I saw
a woman has her
like
fucking eye melted by a blowtorch.
I
And you see it. And they cut
fucking
it out and it leaks pus everywhere.
yeah, but I haven't seen Hospital.
Don't watch it. It's
I don't
fucked.
want to.
Anyway, enough. I may cover it in the future because you won't, but you never know.
I'll never sleep again. I'd be in there. I'd be at night. I'd be like, I'm scared.
Someone's gonna melt my eye with a blowtorch. Thank you for pulling a hair out of my beard.
You're welcome.
So yeah, that of course was the first of the however many predators there are. 4, 5, 5. I of course have been your host, as always, Purple Midnight, joined by my wife, Amelia, the Obsidian Nook Petal ASMR. You can find her link in Sloth.
Don't get my other identity.
Okay. You can find her link in the comments. Well, not the comments. In the link tree. Yep, that's the one. Thank you. You can find Stasi nowhere. He's just asleep. He don't care.
Technically, we talked and they were going to take over Silver's account, but keep his username.
Yeah. Something like that. But he's not linked anywhere. When eventually he'll have his own little.
If there's an only pause out there, then he'll have his account.
Yeah.
Selling his feet pics.
He's got hairy feet.
Yeah,
They're going to be very specific after that. Anyway, as mentioned, that was Predator. If we have the time, we will cover the bonus video film that we were gonna watch and review for last week, but because we got so fucking ill, we couldn't. We're definitely gonna watch it. We're definitely gonna type it up. Whether or not we get it out this week will be a different question. But in the meantime, if not, we will see you for Amelia's pick on Saturday. Hopefully.
What we're doing.
We're doing a film. We're reviewing a film. Bless you. You're worse off than I thought. Look at you. So yeah, thank you again for listening. Thank you for putting up with my ramblings, mistakes. This has been the Nova Project, doing another little review for you. And we will see you in the next one. So Amelia can blow her nose.